Welcome to A Few Thoughts About, the show where we dig into thinking and how it shapes our experience of life. Each week, I share insights and observations to get you thinking. No long lectures, just quick, thought-provoking episodes to shift perspectives so that you can make the change you want to make. Let's get into it. Hey, so before we get started, if you like what you're seeing in this podcast and you want more of it, specifically if you want more of it with video, specifically if you want more of it with video and you like YouTube, I have good news for you. I just launched my YouTube channel. So the link will be in the show notes. The handle is @ScottPinyardCoach. And it is going to be this stuff. The podcast is going to be on there. Plus every week I'm going to do a deep dive live on YouTube. So I'll stream it directly to the platform. So if you want more of this, if you want to go deeper on some of the stuff, and if you want more content like this podcast, go subscribe to me on YouTube. It's @ScottPinyardCoach, and the link is in the show description. That is it for me. Let's get started. Well, hello there, and welcome to A Few Thoughts About Contrast. What the hell am I talking about? Contrast. Well, I was trying to come up with a single word to sort of say this. I want to talk about the contrasts between who you are and what you're doing. One of the things that I find that hurts people and drags them down and causes so many issues is when we define ourselves through the behavior we're having. You know, and there's people with varying opinions on this, but I don't use the word alcoholic. There's a reason. My alcohol use doesn't define me. And so I hate the idea of a label that makes me a thing. I know there's a bunch of other reasons for it too, but that's really the root of it. Right? I am not an alcoholic. That's not who I really am, right? I'm a lot of other things. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a coach. I'm a member of a community. I'm a fan of Portland Hearts of Pine soccer team, right? Like I'm a lot of different things, and those things might define me, but I am not an alcoholic. Like that is a phase in my life, and it's over now. There was a phase in my life, and I remember this very clearly, where I came home from school every day and watched reruns of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't define myself through that. And I recognize that's a silly comparison, but like what starts to happen, especially when it comes to working with alcohol and changing our relationship with alcohol, is we start to define ourselves by the behavior we're making, by the behavior we're exhibiting, as opposed to who we really are. And so this podcast is really a message, and it's for anyone who is struggling with change, no matter what it might be. If it is alcohol, or maybe it is nicotine, or maybe it's food, or maybe it's anger, or who knows what it is. But this is a message to remind you that you are not your behavior. Like who you really are is not touchable by that behavior. And yeah, it is going to seem sometimes like, holy shit, this is dominating my life. Like I remember for me with alcohol, there were many, many days when it felt like alcohol was the only thing in the day. You know, I woke up hungover thinking about how much I drank last night, thinking, oh my God, what did I say or do anything I'm going to regret, right? And then I had the rest of the day as the hangover wore off, and I was starting to figure out, like, am I feeling better? Am I not feeling better? And then it went to, well, my headache's gone. Maybe I do want to have a drink at night. Should I drink at night or not? And so this behavior of mine, this drinking behavior, began to sort of define what my days looked like. And I got confused. And many people I talk to get confused that the behavior is who we are. And part of it is, we kind of live in a world and a time where identity politics and stuff like that are really taking root. And so like identifying yourself with a group or identifying yourself with a behavior, it's something that happens, right? And we see it in popular culture as well. When you sort of see something like AA meetings, people saying, hello, I'm Scott and I'm an alcoholic. It begins to weigh on us. But what I want to sort of remind you of today is you are not your behavior. There is a you that is exhibiting that behavior, and maybe there's a period of your life where that behavior is happening, and then there'll be a period of life where that behavior is not happening. As far as I'm concerned, right, who we really are is consistent through our lives. There's a whole bunch of things that change, right? Our thoughts and our personality and everything else. And so you are not your behavior. So if you find yourself today, if you find yourself in a scenario where you're beating yourself up because you drank last night, or because you didn't follow your diet, or because you didn't do that thing you were going to do, or you're beating yourself up because you didn't get that job, or you didn't fix that relationship, whatever it is, you are not your behavior. You are not what you're doing, right? This is a thing that changes throughout our lives. And this is a big deal, right? Because like on my journey with alcohol, when I identified with my behavior, it felt like I had defined myself as a problem. I have defined myself in terms of being an alcoholic. And so what that meant was that I was a problem. What that meant was there was something wrong with me. And that was never the case. Was there an addiction? Yeah, of course. Right? That means that my physical body was addicted, right? Was there, were there negative outcomes to that addiction? Yeah, of course. Sure. There have been negative outcomes for lots of different things I've done in my life. The reality is, though, that none of those things are me. Take a moment and think about a kid, right? Like think about a kid doing something, exhibiting some behavior, doing something quote unquote wrong, right? And it's really, out of not knowing any better. We don't define that person through that thing for the rest of their lives. So like, if a little kid steals from a store, say, right? And when they're 6 years old, yeah, they get in trouble and they find out that that's not the way to go. But we don't then call them a thief for the rest of their lives, right? This is what I'm getting at, right? We are all doing the best we can. We are all trying to navigate in the best way we can. And nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to fuck up my life today. Right? Like we're operating as we can. And yeah, there is behavior that we exhibit. And sometimes that behavior is fantastic. And sometimes that behavior is not so fantastic. But none of it defines us as a person. This doesn't mean that there aren't consequences. This doesn't mean that there aren't things that we have to deal with. Of course there are. But at the core of it, the way you think about yourself, you are not your behavior. And the sooner you can understand that, and the sooner you can internalize the fact that there is nothing wrong with you, that you are doing the best you can. Maybe you're not where you want to be, but you are not your behavior. The sooner you can see that contrast between who you are and what you're doing, the sooner you can let down your guard and help yourself find freedom. Well, that's it. What do you think? Head on over to scottpinyard.com/podcast. Tell me what you think about these ideas. Also, I'm going to be going live on YouTube at noon on Wednesdays. So if you want to see me dive even deeper, go to the show notes. There's a link to my YouTube channel. Subscribe there. You'll find out when I go live. I love talking about this stuff, and I love hearing from you. So scottpinyard.com/podcast. Send me a note. Tell me what you think, and I will be back next week.